Here's a short look at what I've been planning all of Last Epoch 1.0 since release. I wanted to demo this on a 500 corruption fight, on 2 in fact, on the boss, as well as just a general run through on how it feels. What I do is I throw siege ballistas, and I do that to see kind of where the mobs of enemies are, but also it applies shred armor and it also slows enemies. They do a little bit of damage. Surprisingly, Ballista actually scales with minion, and this has a lot of % scaled minion damage. Now the other thing that we're doing is of course shift for an additional movement speed, and also for a great way to dodge. I prefer that over any other movement skills. I use Falconry of course, and that does a huge amount of damage. We have a chance for double damage. This is a deck stacking max block setup, and so you want life pretty close to 2,000. You want it over 2,000. It is possible to do that. Just did not quite hit there for recording the footage. Here's how it feels battling a mage on 500 corruption. You can imagine on 200 corruption, this is nothing. Around 400 corruption is when the game starts to get a little bit more challenging. I don't have the fastest movement speed, but it's fast enough to feel perfectly comfortable in it. Utilizing all the skills, I use left click on dive bomb, and then I also have it backed up by R, and that's the second main skill is just dive bomb. It has a little bit better cooldown than Falconry. And then finally we use smoke bomb, not so much to buff ourselves, but any enemies within the smoke bomb have some effects, and you can look through the build itself. I'm going to post the link below. I'm not going to really showcase much in terms of the build here. I mean, I'm not going to walk through every single passive node. I'm not going to walk through every single piece of gear, because I know when I look up a build for inspiration, I don't care about that. I just want to see footage of how it plays, and then I can look at the link myself. And so you can do that. Now you'll find a very interesting setup I'm doing. I'm not using a bow. I am actually not using a sword. I'm not using a dagger. I am using a scepter, because scepters can have an implicit per % minion damage. You don't have to worry about minion health, because falcons are immune. Falcons, by the way, do peck enemies randomly as they fly around, but then we want lots of cooldown recovery all over the place. That's very important, because that's going to allow us to cast more falconry and more dive bombs, and frankly more shifts to dodge. Unlimited ballistas, those don't have a cooldown. Everything else does, but unlimited casts, but max of 2. You can get max of 3 on your body armor, but it's absolutely not necessary. That's not our main source of damage. Now again, we're stacking cooldown. We put a lot of movement speed on the shoes, of course. We get our reses all capped. We get our block chance up, and that's a big thing you'll see through the gear. 100% max block, way more important than 99%, because if you're standing in an Oribus beam or a beam on this guy here, Formosus, you know, one of those is not going to be blocked if you don't have max block. So max block is huge. This way we block every single hit ever that comes our way. And we have a block effectiveness to about 50%, and we have a little bit of armor. And we have a little bit of dodge just because we're also deck stacking. We're deck stacking because all of our main skills scale damage based on our decks. So you can see 118 decks. We use 2 uniques. This is one of them. This is how you get max block. You have to get block chance as a Weaver's Will implicit. Fizz res could be swapped for another res. Don't forget about your blessings. We take advantage of a physical resistance blessing because it makes your life much easier. And of course, the more res we get, the more block effectiveness we get because of our shield.